Today is an episode wherein we are going to have an expert talk with a stalwart in the industry. After every three videos, we make it a point that you meet some stalwart in the industry so that there is a proper give and take of knowledge. Friends, today we are going to have Samir Kukade with us. We are indeed very lucky to have Samir with us. And for you, friends, I'm going to read out his biodata. And thereafter, I'm going to ask him questions on your behalf as to we all in the HR fraternity are very curious to know as to what is happening in the industry today after the Ukraine war, after technological developments, India galloping towards labor codes, so on and so forth. But then there must be somebody who is very well in the field who is to answer all of these to us. And that's why we are going to have today an expert talk with Samir Kukade. Who is Samir Kukade? Well, the name is very well known, but even then, I have to introduce him to you. And let me read out his biodata. Samir is a commerce graduate and has a master's degree in human resources from the Pune University and also possesses a diploma in labor laws from the Symbiosis College. Samir has a vast experience, a reservoir of experience of 31 years, out of which 21 years he was working in multinational companies only. And he has spent 11 years in Indian conglomerates. For the past 10 years, he is working as the Chief Human Resource Officer of large companies. Now, friends, you will understand when you are a Chief Human Resources Officer, it gives you to understand so many dimensions of international and national labor laws as well as industrial dynamics. In his latest assignment at Praj Industries, he was the Chief Human Resource Officer and President Human Capital and was responsible for HR, Admin, and CSR. Prior to that, he worked for Lear Corporation, which is a US multinational company, where he was the Chief Human Resources Officer and Country Director responsible for HR, IR, Legal, and CSR. For 20 years, he headed the HR function or worked as a part of the country management team and was involved in all aspects of employee life cycle processes, attracting, retaining, and developing talent. Now, friends, in the past 31 years, Samir has touched almost each and every vista of industrial relations, labor laws, and HR. And friends, where has Samir exactly contributed? He has been instrumental in introducing significant changes in the organizational structure itself, bringing in organizational results. He's reduced attrition. Well, today that's a big problem how to maintain good people. And that's why attrition is hitting on the doors of almost every company. We all want good people, and Samir has been instrumental in reducing attrition, people, policies, and systems to support changing needs of business. And he has groomed not one or two, but more than 25 leaders who are leading multinational organizations today. That is Samir Kukade today, friends. Moreover, in Brinton Carpets, he led the HR function to convert greenfield projects into a fully blown mature organization, which was fully an EOU unit and has an equal competence in industrial relations, labor issues, and where he has handled almost internal and external union issues and has confronted every union leader in almost this part of the country. You just name the union leader, and Samir has had an interaction with him. And he has succeeded in closing down more than 14 collective bargaining wage agreements. And friends, he has worked extensively in in the areas of HR policies and processes, employee engagement, and industrial relations and CSR. So you can understand he is having a three-dimensional view with him of HR and IR today. And that is why, our purpose was to bring such a stalwart so that we all can have an interaction with him. And I'm going to ask him questions on your behalf. One more thing, friends, he's always worked with a mission to create a difference for the organization and employees. And Samir is a certified mentor. He has certification in predictive index, GH smart interviewing methodology, and Thomas profiling tool. He's undergone training for Six Sigma and lateral thinking methodology. Well, friends, this was a formal introduction of Samir, but let me tell you something more. Apart from this vast experience, this reservoir of knowledge, he is a down to earth person, a simple human being, a friendly heart, and anybody, you just call out his name and he is there to help you. So, friends, we are indeed very lucky today to have Samir Kukade with us. And on behalf of you, I'm going to ask him questions.
First of all, thank you very much, Srikanth, for inviting me in this prestigious channel which you have started on industrial relations, and human resource field. And it's my pleasure to be on this show as an expert. So, thank you very much.
So, friends, on behalf of all of us, the first question is to Samir. Sir, how much do you think COVID has affected the industrial relations? Now, we are all aware the past 2 years were a bit daunting, challenging for all of us. And some people lost jobs, some companies were closed down. Government was also the directives and the advisories which were issued time and again. Sometimes they were a bit confusing. And with all of this, what is the present scenario, sir? What do you feel? I mean, how much do you think has COVID really affected the industrial relations? Yes, sir.
I think it's most relevant question in today's time because COVID has affected the world and everybody professionally, personally, we are all affected due to COVID, and we are just recovering from that. And when we look back for last 2 years, I think so many things have happened. A lot of good things happened, a lot of bad things happened, and it's a mixed bag for all of us. First of all, if you see the dark side of it, industry went through a very, very tough time in terms of stopping the work, getting production stopped because of the lockdown, and that promoted a lot of things in such kind of a redundancy of manpower, companies or factories not functioning, and then financial losses, unemployment, and so many things which really was not a great thing to see in these 2 years. But at the same time, a lot of things happened uh, positive as well, and industrial relations have seen actually a see-through change. First of all, if you see, it was a survival mode. So employees, union, employers came together, and for the first time, you could see a very, very harmonious kind of a relationship across. Disputes took a pause. Things were absolutely cordial. We were just thinking how we can survive, how industry can be survived. The communication between different stakeholders increased to a great level. For a good change, I can see that government played a role of a guide. And for the first time, government, employer, and unions and employees worked together seamlessly. Humanity came on the surface, like when the government talked about full wages for lockdown period. Many industries came forward and said, we will pay because this is our social responsibility. So humanity, which actually the intended objective of any legislation which has come on the surface. And then union workers decided impromptu to postpone wage settlements and the disputes which are currently going on. So I think industrial relations has seen see-through change, and it is going to remain many things which we have learned during these 2 years.
Very well said, sir. My next question to you is: what is the impact of technological changes on industrial relations? Now, why I'm asking you this question? You will appreciate 5G is knocking our doors. Technological inventions have taken place, and then India is galloping with a technological impact. The largest technological and a scientific force in the world is with India. So, what do you think? What is the impact of technological changes on industrial relations? Yes, sir.
I think very good question from the technology standpoint. That what are the kind of changes we have seen in last 2 years? The biggest change which happened, except some manufacturing units, that we started working from home, and the realities were different for IT industry, service industry, as well as manufacturing industry. The work from home created a sense that we need to communicate, but in a very, very different way, and how to communicate. And that's why a lot of virtual platforms came into the play. We started using social media in a big way. The apps like Zoom, Teams, Microsoft Teams, such kind of platforms we started using seamlessly. I've seen in companies people who never touch WhatsApp and Zoom kind of apps, they started using that seamlessly. So things change on that front, that people were more technologically literate, and they advance their skills in the new era of technology. Big change in judiciary also, we could see that in the response of the times, judiciary also went on a virtual hearing, saving a lot of time for people who are coming from outside cities and waiting for the hearing to happen. So that happened. Government officials started communicating on various social medias as well as WhatsApp, and then other platforms. Companies started looking at the gig workers as one of the options, and that is something which was a change, because all these various services, they started finding that we can give the job to many people by way of part-time jobs. And the last but not least, the online surveys played a major role in various companies to understand how the health of the employees is, then what are the things we need to promote, what are the precautions we need to take, and various things. So surveys took a lot of front seat in communication, and companies effectively use social media for engaging employees. And I would say that it's not only the industrial relations, but then in employee relations also, it had a huge impact from the technology we are currently using. And that was a very pleasurable change I could think of.
Well, sir, got it. And this brings us to our next question. Are trade unions facing challenges related to declining membership, power, and collection of subscriptions? Now, you see, on the one hand, we are having rationalization, introduction of new tools, new machineries, automated processes. Now, this is all going to have an impact on the employer-employee relationships. Basically, with the trade unions are also facing challenges, and with the automation and all of those things, sometimes, I mean, there's a decline in the membership, power, and collection of subscriptions. So, what do you feel? What is the real challenge which is faced by the trade unions? Yes, sir.
I think, Shrikant, it's a very relevant question in today's time, and we can see this question getting debated in almost very various platforms. I don't think membership of union is declining. Of course, the change of unionization is happening, because earlier days, central unions or external unions used to have a major role to play in industrial relations. But nowadays, new generation is looking for internal unions more, because they feel that they can represent their problems in a better way, and they can communicate also better, and they are equipped to do that. And that's why I don't think that the membership is declining. But of course, internal unions are getting a front seat, surely. If you ask me, the power, it's not a question of power. I see this is in a very different way. That how collaboration can be come into the play. That is the kind of approach I think this time even management as well as unions are looking at. And that collaboration is a very welcoming change I can see in industrial relations. They come together and they decide that, okay, we want to prosper and we will prosper together. And these things actually, and that's why you can see a declining trend of strikes, which is a stoppage of work. At the same time, subscription, I don't think that that is a problem in organized organizations or organized industry, where payroll is maintained, all employees are paid through banks or checks. There, I think subscription is not an issue. But then, where the unorganized labor is there, definitely there is a issue of subscription collection. And I think with the new technology, like we have a banks, ATMs, or now different UPIs or wallets, I think these are helping everybody to ensure that such kind of a subscriptions or other things are coming on time. And I think unions should use this technology more and more to ensure that they are funded well due to the subscription which is recoverable. And I think that's the way forward in today's time.
True, Samir. But this brings us to the next question. Now, you see, there are so many unemployment issues also in this country. Unemployment is rampant. Of course, the government has done its bit to decrease the issue. But then, on the one hand, the population is increasing. Unemployment was a problem in 1947 when India became independent. Unemployment is an issue today also. So, in simple words, what theory can I relate to unemployment issues in industrial relations? Is my question, if I may ask you.
Shrikant, unemployment is definitely an issue in a big country like us, and definitely this needs to be debated more, that why unemployment is currently there or maybe increase in few years. I believe that in one philosophy, that I think you need to allow nature to follow its steps and changes. I think we cannot control everything, and I'm not an advocate of controlling things from the government side or anybody. I think we need to allow industry to prosper on its own by way of demand and supply principle. And let me tell you that if there is a demand, there would be a good supply. In fact, sometimes the supply is less, and then that's why the costing of that particular resource goes up. And that the same logic happens everywhere in any economy. You see whatever the philosophy they follow. That's why I feel that if the employers have flexibility to employ people as per their need, as per their demand and supply curve, I think there will not be an issue. And more or less, employers have also found out a way to manage their demand supply curve by engaging contract labor, which is flexible. Only the worry is that how that contract labor is regulated. That's a big question. But then that's by concept, it's not a bad idea. That if demand is there, we can employ people. And I believe that new code which is coming for labor is addressing that issue to a certain extent by way of fixed term employment. And if the fixed term employment comes, that companies are willing to hire people more and more for the jobs. And that is going to be a reality, that more the requirement in the market, unemployment is going to go down. And I think if we do that carefully, we have a way out on the unemployment issue.
Very well said, Samir. We are friends, so I can choose to call you Samir also. And my next question is, now you see, if you compare India and Pakistan as far as IT exports are concerned, India is miles ahead. I mean, that's a matter of pride for all of us. But then you see in India, there are IT industries, but unions are knocking on the doors of IT industries. Sometimes we attribute it to the demand and supply ratio and all of those things. But this is my question to you. Whether unions are knocking the doors of IT industries, and what do you see? What do you see the scenario after 5 years and after 10 years? A bit of a future.
Interesting question, and I would have very different answer to this particular question, because yes, we have seen unions are getting into the IT industry for last more than couple of years, and it's a reality. And but at the same time, I have some fundamental questions to ask. Why anybody thinks in an industry that we need a union? And union is not, I'm not talking about union body, but then why to get together to fight for something? Either it's a fear of losing job, fear of losing any facility, or any particular injustice they see in the system, or fairness is not seen in the system. That's why they would like to raise their voice and table their concern. And in 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 industry, that this is something done in both the ways, and I see that as an individualism versus unionism. If the individual has got an ability to raise that, fight for that injustice, then uh, it can be easily resolvable. And you can see in young management staff that they negotiate the salary, they negotiate their managers, they negotiate their work. So that is individualism. And because they are very clear that I have a merit, I have a ability to fight for my skill. So that is the individualism. And then the other side is that unionism, where they know that I individually cannot fight. And that's why the union is formed. And that happened in IT industries mainly, where the jobs are either can be atomized, like testers in IT industry. Testing function or a skill is taken over by artificial intelligence. So that way, they felt the need of that. So and then one more thing, like service industry, which is growing in India big time. They don't have one workplace where they can get together and discuss their things. So according to me, we had to wait and see how unionism takes place in IT industry. Is too early to comment on that, but I see that the kind of a success union have seen in manufacturing organizations, I don't see that big kind of a success in IT industry to a larger extent. Service industry, definitely there can be, but IT industry, I can see individualism will have more weightage than unionism.
Very well said, Samir. And this takes me to the next question, right to disconnect. Now, you see, in the French Parliament, this bill was introduced, and there I learned that this is already in picture, that a person, when he works from 9 to 5, he is paid only for working till 9 to 5. So why should the company bother him after 9 o'clock and after 5 o'clock or whatever are his timings? A similar bill is introduced in the Indian Parliament by one of the foremost parliamentarians from this part of the town of the country. And now you see, right to disconnect and work related stress. Yes, in India, sometimes we find that this person, he makes up a dinner plan, and his boss and whatever are his persuasive messages, they take a toll on his dinner plans. He cannot sleep also. And this all happens after 5 o'clock when his duty hours are already over. This puts the employee under stress. And how long will this continue? I heard that when people worked from home, the duty hours went 9 hours and 10 hours and 12 hours and whatnot, all the while people were on duty only. So, my question to you is, I mean, how do you relate and look at all of this, and what are your comments on this? Yes, Samir. Yeah.
I think right to disconnect is getting discussed after the private bill was presented in the parliament, and that was the start of the discussion, that whether we can have that situation, because that is something which is available for employees in developed countries, where people are not obligated to take any phone call or attend any meeting after the working hours. Uh, in developing country like India, I think we are on a very different stage. for a few reasons. The first reason is that a lot of work we are getting from overseas because either we have a skill or we are better cost managed. I would not say low cost; it's optimal cost. So in this situation, the global timings would differ. So people need to work either over the work hours or at odd hours. So that's why you can see like manufacturing organization in IT or service industries, you have shifts in night also. So you can manage Europe time, you can manage US time, and that becomes a different work style, work lifestyle for any new generation. From that perspective, if you ask me, new generation or millennials, if I ask to talk about, then it is very interesting that they would like to enjoy their life by earning money. So they would like to prosper in their career also quickly. So they don't mind spending more hours in office or for the work to have a edge over his or her colleagues. So it's not only the thing which company is putting a stress on, but the employees also in favor to have more work and maybe have a more flexibility because nowadays a lot of women employees are working. They need a flexibility because they have a children to manage, their house to manage. So they see that okay, if morning time is available to me, I can work up to 9 o'clock, and then the boundaries between work and personal life are getting invisible. So it becomes very difficult that what is your personal time and what is your work time. And in this situation, I think we need to understand that this stress levels we had to pass through, and we since till we really go to a stage where we can manage ourselves better because the things are changing. Companies are sensitive about it, and few corporates have already initiated that people are going through stress, so they advise employees to go to a counselor which is appointed by the company. The cost is taken by companies. Then many corporates I have seen and few clients also I have seen where they are very clear about their policies that people are not to be disturbed after 7 o'clock, no calls, and they tell their customers, clients that we are not available on Sunday. And but then the commitment from the company in their policies, uh, in their environment or culture is very critical. And that commitment, if companies and companies are sensible now about this because they know that if we are not keeping that line between work life and personal life, then we might lose people or talent, and my attrition will go up, retention would be an issue. So I think companies are coming up with some policies related to this, and this can solve the problem. No legislation or no any other control really would give a solution for this kind of a problem.
Yeah, very well said. I mean, whatever you are telling, it's food to my mind also. And of course, Samir sir is a big name. Just because he is a friend of all of us, I mean, I can choose to call him Samir. But then, my final question to you would be, my final question is, now you have spent 31 years in the HR field, IR field, into multinationals, conglomerates, everywhere. And then my question to you is, what is your opinion today or the reflections of your thought on the HR field today? HR and IR both. So, this would be a question which would be helpful to all our HR and IR fraternity and our HR and IR friends who are working in various industries. So, what is your take on that matter? What is your opinion generally on the HR and IR field? Yes, Samir.
I think I would start this particular answer to this your question, Shrikant, that I really love my profession, human resources, because it's a very challenging profession. Not only gives the satisfaction at personal level, but it gives a huge satisfaction that we are supporting to the organization. You can you can buy any machinery, you can buy any technology, but putting people at a right level, developing them, getting the results and productivity from the people, I think that is something which is very interesting in this field. There is no right answer in this, but at the same time, there is no correct answer into this as well. So if every time you have to put your innovative mind into the situation and work out a solution which not only satisfies people, but at the same time to the organization and organization growth. I've seen the organizations growing, transforming through human resource function, as well as more importantly, people. And I feel that those professionals who are new in the field, I think it's the most powerful profession we have. And if you can use this profession to grow yourself, to make yourself matured, but at the same time, more importantly, how organization can be given a great help on a people front. And that's a contribution I feel human resource field can give to any organization.
So, friends, in our journey of sharing knowledge, it was our attempt to bring to you some stalwart in the industry. And then we had none other than Samir, who is a friend also and has a vast experience of 31 years.
Thank you very much, Shrikant, once again for inviting me on your expert talk session. It was really a pleasure to have an interaction with you, and I'm sure that this interaction would be helpful for budding professionals in human resources. Thank you.
And after every 3 videos, we are going to bring someone from the industry to talk on HR and to talk on IR, so to know as to what is happening in the field today. And this is in our journey of sharing knowledge. So, friends, uh, it was nice meeting all of you. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Thank you so much. Thank you.